Hey guys, how's everybody on this Thursday evening now? Hey, two things. First one, shout out to Dave at the Arizona Model Shop. I got his shop card in the mail. Very cool, very cool. And Dave, I want to thank you for the very kind words that you said on your last video there, bud, where about the light that I made you. I really, really appreciate that. Very cool. Thank you, sir. And second thing, you remember my last video where I tried to submerge the sub and it looked like it imploded. That's about the best way to put it. Well, I tried something similar again, and now I know exactly what happened to the sub because it happened again here, and I'm going to explain to you what it is so that if you guys try to do something with resin like this, you won't get caught in the same predicament that I did. So I'll start off by saying you do not want to use the resin that you can pick up at Michael's or at Hobby Lobby. They're both basically the same. Alumalite is what you pick up at Hobby Lobby, and Envirotex is what you get at Michael's. Those are both fast setting or fast curing resins, and you don't want that. That's where the problem comes in. You want a slow curing, or what they call a deep pour resin. So let me flip this camera around here and I'll show you what I'm talking about, what happened to me here again. Now there's some positives that came out of this, and I'll point those out to you too. So I'm not completely turned off by the idea, but it's going to be the slow curing resin, and the deep pour resin is quite a bit more expensive, like 1.5 to 2 times the price of what you get at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. So, you know, with it being expensive, I'm not too sure I'm willing to make that leap. But let me turn the camera around here and I'll show you what we got, okay? Hold on, I'll be right back. Alrighty, we are back. And this is what we have. It's not done yet, but it's basically done. We tried to do a crash plane diorama where the plane crashed into the water. And I'm going to get in closer and show you some close-ups here in just a second. But one of the positives, the big positive that came out of this is I'm now confident that I can make these frames to go around it to hold the resin in without it leaking. Because this is 2 that I've done now and have not leaked a single drop, either out of the submarine or this one. So that's a positive. The other positive is coloring the resin, because this is a clear resin, and I'm real pleased with the coloring. It came out exactly where I wanted it. The color itself looks good. You can still see the detail under the water, like the tire here, and even the little stuff like the landing gear door. The flaps that I bent up and glued down for the that it got ripped off in the crash, and even the base for the water, which by the way is kitty litter. That's how I got all the different texture that you can see, the big and the small, like rocks and everything. That's actually kitty litter, and it worked very well. And then I'm trying to remember what they call this stuff now, lichen or something like that. But anyways, it looks just like coral almost under the water. So I'm pleased with that. Even coming right down to little detail like the rear wheel from the plane that got ripped off in the crash. I mean, that's very plain. There's the other tire there. My little friend that I added. And this was just kind of a happy little accident. This was not planned at all, but he just happened to be set at the right depth to where it was just his dorsal fin above the water, the way sharks usually swim around. But he's kind of checking it out, looking for lunch, I guess. But again, another flap that had got tore off and is bent up and everything, and I mean, you can see that real well. And I added extra detail here to the wing that got torn off with the, if you want to call it, the framework or conduit or whatever that's sticking out of the wing on both halves here. So that shows up real well. So, you know, in those cases, I'm real happy with the outcome of it. Where I'm not real happy is you can see how it's real rough right here, and right up along this side here you can see where it's real rough. Again, where's my pointer at here? Sorry guys, lost track of where I was at. But again, right here where it's real rough, all along this front edge of this wing here. And you can see how it's kind of milky or cloudy. Those are all tiny air bubbles that were trapped that I couldn't do a thing about. And here's why. This resin, like I said, is a fast curing resin, and it sets from the top down. So what happens is, like what happened in this case, is I poured the first batch of resin in, and it wasn't deep enough. I wanted it deeper. So I was watching it. I was watching it very closely. I was using a little propane torch that I've got, and I was catching all the air bubbles as they came up. Not a problem. I started to mix up another batch of resin, and while I was mixing that, I mean, just that fast, it cured over the top and put a hard shell on the top. So the bubbles that were coming up were trapped, and even though I was here and I pretty much saw it happening, and I was using, I mean, this is a broken tweezers that kind of snapped in half, and you can see how sharp that tip is, how small of a point it is, and I was trying to push this down into the resin so that I could pop the air bubble underneath and maybe get these other air bubbles to come up. Well, what it's doing is messing up the smooth coating that's already formed on the top. So that's what all this roughness is here, is where I was trying to break through the top that had already skinned over and to get at the bubbles. So that's why that ended up so rough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this finish curing overnight. The top is rock solid already. That's not a problem. But I'm going to let this finish curing overnight. I'll take the sides off and take it off of the base that I've got it on here. Then I'm going to add the water ripples and see if I can't turn all this rough stuff that doesn't look good, see if I can't turn it into something. I'm going to try and disguise it, basically, is what I'm saying. I'm going to add water ripples and maybe a little bit of wave action with some white caps and see if I can't distract the eye from the goof up, to so to speak. So that's today's lesson on resin. If you want to do something like this, do not use the resin from Michaels or from Hobby Lobby. Pay the extra money and get the good stuff online. So, okay guys, that's it. And the next update you'll probably see will be hopefully within the next day or so. I know I've been promising, but I've got an update coming on the railroad, so that'll be hopefully within the next day or two, and we'll get that one up. So that's about everything I've got. So we're going to talk at y'all later, and hope you have a great weekend coming up, guys. We'll see y'all on the next video. Bye.